Let's drop the green flag on this episode of the Talent Tank Podcast with your host, Wyatt Pemberton, bringing you the best, fastest, most knowledgeable personalities in ULTRA4 and off-road racing.
All right. Here we go. Back in the Talent Tank we go. On this installment, as you guys clicked on, you're like, Pam Hall. I know who Pam Hall is. She's currently announcing ULTRA4's live show. We see her on TV with Miles, on the computer with Miles. We see her on Facebook, Instagram a little bit, but we don't know much about her. Today, we're going to find out Pam Hall. Pam, welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited about this. So, long story short, I don't know, but I'm sitting in an RV in Oklahoma with Miles Hasselkist's wife from Paolic, Kansas, named Bailey Hasselkist, and one of her girlfriends, Sam, and we're sitting there and we're watching the live show because it was Friday. It was damn cold. No?
Yes, it was freezing cold. It went from hot to cold.
And they're like, "Wyatt, who's Pam? Like, what's the story on this chick?" And I'm like, "Oh man, to be honest with you, I really don't know much about Pam. I've met you in the ULTRA4 media tent at King of the Hammers, and you worked the media tent, taking care of."
Yes.
How many photographers were there this year? Like 400?
Oh gosh, usually there's over 450 photographers, media, videographers that we have to check in every single year. This year there was more, so well over 450 this year. But in the past, it's been always over that 400 mark.
So that was where I met you, and you were just kind of keeping you're like a shepherd, herding all the cats all around. And I was like, oh, she's impressive. Like, you were really impressive. You kind of had a commanding presence. And then next thing I know, I see you're doing the live show. And then these girls that I'm with in the RV were watching you, and they're like, who is she? And you're like, you know what? Maybe I need to have her on. Then I came up to the Nitto trailer, to the Nitto Lounge. And
yes,
and they're
not awesome Nitto Lounge. It kept us warm.
And they're not paying me for this, so Nitto's not paying me.
Me neither.
Right? We're off the clock, and I come in there and sit down with you and Miles, and I watched you for a little bit, and then I came back on Saturday, and I thought about it. I really thought long and hard about, let's get you on the Talent Tank. Let's find out who Pam Hall is. So here you are.
Here I am. Let's really find out who I am. Dig deep and
you're
first time doing this for me.
And you're so bubbly and awesome and full of energy. I have, can fully see why you ended up with the microphone in your hand announcing the live show. I think it's great. I can't wait to hear the story about how that even came to fruition. But
it's definitely interesting. But back to that media tent though. I was named myself as the concierge of the media tent.
I think that's a fair statement, right?
Yeah. I was always like checking people in, making sure they were good. Emily Miller started having me, show them the maps and shuttling. So anyways, we'll probably get into that more detailed though.
And fixing people's Wi-Fi passwords, because that's like super secretive. You guys, you have to hand over your device. You guys input it and then you hand it back.
There's literally 3 of us that know that password. Myself, Christy, Emily Miller doesn't even know it. And then normally the person that is doing the media in there with us for the ULTRA4 pages, we're the only ones with the passwords for that.
And you're going to take that to your grave, right?
Yes.
All the way.
And then I'm always giving lead nav too. It seems like I would always call home to my husband, hey, help me with getting lead nav on my device. And so I'd be giving it to the people that needed to know where to go out to photograph.
And not funny, that's the wrong word. The fun thing, I think, what I've learned about you and know about you is you are a very veteran, seasoned racer. You've got more than a decade of racing, desert off-road racing under your belt. And here you are showing up in ULTRA4 and everyone's like, oh, who's this new girl? And you're not.
This new girl wants to race ULTRA4.
Yeah, we're gonna put the petition out here with throw up flares, send out flyers, we'll get the helo and some drones to drop flyers over Hammertown and be like, Pam Hall is available, has helmet, fire suit, will travel.
Yes, I will travel with my fire suit and helmet always.
Well, I think the way you can spin this is if you get Travis Walder and Dave and all that company to let you, actually, it's probably more Dan Lloyd Campbell to put a microphone, into your helmet, and then you can do interviews on race course. That's how you should sell this.
That would be totally awesome. Or do, live in-car audio and have a camera going so you can go onto the live show as we're racing.
I think this is your angle. We're working on I'm angling, trying to get you in there. But no, so you're
love to be in a Can-Am doing it.
Oh,
or a 4400.
I would angle for the 4400, right?
Yeah, that'd be smoother.
Save all your teeth, get less shook up, right? So, you've been racing since like 2007. We're going to go into that in a little bit and like how you got indoctrinated into everything dust and dirt and off-road. You're a mom of a racer. You have a 12-year-old son. He's a racer.
Yes.
And
he is.
Talk about that little dude here in a little bit. And then you're a patriot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
And today.
You've seen my Instagram post, huh?
That's what, so, and I told you, part of doing this kind of job, I make sure I do my homework on you. And I'm like, wow. And we go our headshots too, right? What pictures we're going to use for headshots. And you and I went back and forth a lot because you want to make sure you get the right one. I want to make sure you get the right one. I want to make sure you get one that you like. So yeah, I have to, e-stock you, so to speak. Don't worry. I have to do it for the dudes too. So that's all good. It's only kind of awkward. There you are stalking Casey Gilbert and there's nothing but stuck tractors or James Cantrell, it's just blown out trailer tires. I mean,
my gosh.
you in an American flag bikini with a flag and like this chick rocks.
A couple firearms in my hand. Yeah. That was my 4th of July post. I love America and I love the flag. So
yeah, red-blooded American girl. And we're doing it on today. Today's election day. Today's the 3rd. It is. So everyone's going to hear this and hopefully, we haven't had civil war. And we hope. Well, I hope there's not a lot of lawsuits.
Did you vote? I
did. I early voted maybe 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I would.
Okay.
Where I live in southwest of Houston, in kind of a suburb in a county that is, I'll tell you right now, my school district, my kids' school district, it is the #1 most diverse school district in the United States. So if that tells you anything,
okay.
So we may be a red state, or maybe there's claims that we're going to be blue, but my county is 100% blue. So it's
gotcha.
And I do wear my political leanings on my sleeve, and I do feel like my vote is just a canceling out of another vote here in this county, and probably the other side feels the same way. So,
gotcha.
Did you vote?
Oh, of course. I went today. I actually went because we moved here last summer to North Carolina from California. And I registered to vote last summer when I got my new driver's license for here. And I show up to vote in my county today and they can't find me. So they proceed to tell me that I would have to fill out a provisional ballot and my vote probably won't even count. I was so upset because I'm like, this is pointless to vote if I'm not, if it's not going to show up and, count. So we left. My husband and we literally registered the same day. He was in the right county. I was in the right county, but they put me in the wrong county. I don't know what happened. But anyways, so I ended up finding out where I was registered to vote and I ended up going and voting. So now my vote will count. So it makes me happy.
What?
I was a little upset.
You were a patriot and you did the right. Well, I mean, you did the best thing against all odds, right?
Right. Exactly. I didn't know I could go online and find out where I was actually registered to vote. He did that. I did not know I could do that. So, but I did. He looked it up for me and made sure that he told me exactly where to go. And I went and I voted. So I actually voted twice today, but my first one won't count. But I got my neat little pin that says I voted.
Well, there you go. So, I think that kind of matters, at least in my mind. It matters for what like King of the Hammers looks like. I've been told that the permits are pulled, like everything is ready. There's no chance it doesn't happen. Is what I've been told, but we're all skeptics, right? We've seen.
I'm even skeptical too. So
we've seen what they did with COVID. We've seen what the political spin on stuff. So I know I'm getting definitely out of my lane and the lane of the talent tank when we're talking about COVID and politics as they where they go in this country. But man, I think that could impact our racing. Impact a lot of the guys in how they make money to go racing too.
Oh, exactly. It's not hurting. I mean, I don't get political either, but it's hurting everybody, not just businesses and stuff. It's hurting racers, all the businesses actually that have to do with racing too. So anyways, I'm not a political person myself. So, but we
go vote. We go vote. We do it. We uphold our obligation and we go handle business. That's what we do. You can count on us. Yeah, the American flag bikini and the guns. Awesome. I think anyone that can pull that off, they should pull that off. I fully support. They're great. They're awesome. I know a little bit more about you and knew that the type of person I was going to deal with in an interview tonight. And I was like, wow, this chick's awesome.
And my husband took those photos. And
he's a photographer. So now I'm going to get into that here. So let's talk current affairs outside of the election stuff.
Okay.
We're fresh off nationals. We kind of mentioned that, that's a week and a half ago. How'd nationals go for you?
It went great. I was on another event for 2 weeks before nationals. So I went from one event to the next. And when I showed up at nationals, I showed up on Monday. And normally I don't show up till Thursday. Since I do announcing with Miles, they don't have me come in till Thursday because they don't need us till then in reality. But I showed up, and on Tuesday morning, I went out and I started doing course marking with JT Taylor and Rusty. Rusty was also there, Rusty Travis, who is normally at the start finish line. So it was so much fun to get out on course and do course marking because I've never done that. It got me familiar with what the racers were going to be on. So doing the announcing was easier. So I actually did that Tuesday and Wednesday. So it was completely different than what I am used to, but it was super hot. We were talking about weather earlier.
It was
super hot. Like we were wearing t-shirts, actually like tank tops and shorts doing the course marking. And then come Thursday, it cools off. Friday come qualifying and everyone's freezing their booties off. And we're like layered up, have hand warmers in our pockets. And it's raining, but nationals was really good. I had a lot of fun. Nitto was awesome for letting us use their lounge to announce in. So it made it nice and cozy. I had a blast. I felt more comfortable because this was really only my third time announcing on the live show. And so it was easier, I think, to announce this time, being on course, doing my homework. Miles is a good teacher. So he's telling me what I need to do. So I've been doing my homework.
There's absolutely that. Knowing the course is absolutely imperative and to have experienced. I think that's why people that are racers or have raced do such a good job in that role of announcing. And they can convey in words exactly what the guy with the helmet on in the race car is kind of going through at different portions of the course. Mm-hmm. So that was really cool. That was cool. You also got to see the other side, and you got to work with JT. A good day with JT is better than a bad day with JT. So
I had a great day. It was awesome. He took me up Hell's Gate, which was one of the hardest obstacles on the course. We went up it. He has a side-by-side. And so we were actually out pre-running and not pre-running. We were actually out course marking. He said he was going up it. And I said, well, I want to get in because his daughter had been with him the whole time. And she went back early on the second day. And it was on loop B because there was an A loop and a B loop. And so when he said he had a free seat and I asked him if I could go, I'm like, heck yeah. So I jumped right in and put my 4-point harness on because he didn't have a 5-point, but strapped in tight because it's hard to explain it, but it was basically you had to pop up on straight faces and then get the front end down and then pop back up. But a lot of the racers didn't even use that line during the race. I would ask them when they would come in to interview with us, and they didn't use the line because they were told it was going to be slower. So when I saw video, I think it was of Rusty Weiler going up oh my gosh, I was so excited to see that he did that. And he popped right up and he was up in 30 seconds.
So that was that really gnarly rock ledge when you came out of the creek to the right. It was a right-hand turn and you went straight up at a 35 degree angle. And it just looked rough and nasty. Yeah. Then that's the Happy Pappy, right?
Exactly. Happy Pappy. But if you stayed to the left instead of going up, you stayed in the creek for a little bit longer. And then it was a longer way around, but they said it was faster, but I don't know how fast it was actually.
I think Rusty said he passed 3 people there each time he did it. Yep. Was what, if I recall correctly. And then, so you're riding with JT, and then, did you wish him happy birthday?
Yes, always, every day.
Always, every day is JT's happy birthday, JT. I hope you're listening to this on your windshield time. But JT had his daughter out there. I want to talk about, you brought up Maddie. Maddie, his 15-year-old daughter, I met her one other time, but she's amazing. So she, I don't know if she was an aspiring photographer or it just kind of got put on her, but I think she showed some interest with Rhonda Howell about photography. And then the amazing Alan Johnson, who was on the Talent Tank just a couple weeks ago, he loaned her some camera gear and she went out on course during the race, and the pictures that came back from that 15-year-old girl's eye, amazing. Like
are amazing.
She killed it. Like she's professional grade and 15. So I think as us as a group, entity, a family, a community, whatever should, I think, support those that support you. And I think we should be fostering our youth. And there's some stuff that you're doing in the future that I think is awesome along those lines about fostering the future. But yeah, I think she's one of those people that, she's JT's kid. She's already under the wing of ULTRA4. So it's, foster whatever her interests are.
Exactly. And she's an awesome 15-year-old. I had spent time with her out on the course marking. And then also at night we would have dinner. Like we had dinner at Area 51 there one night, and just every night at dinner. She's just super, super awesome to sit and talk with. And then like you're saying, to see those photos that she took, I would not have ever guessed that she took those photos. Like they looked like somebody like Alan, or like you're saying, Rhonda, or somebody that's seasoned took those photos. She has a great eye. And
that's the thing that, as I've done this show, like, and Alan can vouch for this, which your headshot, everyone is going to see your headshot is attached to the artwork for this that we talked about earlier. That's an Alan Johnson, White Collar Publishing picture. Alan took your picture. I don't remember what event it was from. I think maybe it was from Moab, but anyway, it was. Alan takes some great headshots. And so he always applies to me, I don't make any money at this, so I'm not really, and he loves what I'm doing. And so he's always good about that. Lana Scott's another one that always gives me good pictures. But, but as you go through, at least at this point, going through all these other photogs pictures from an event, I see a style. Like I can tell a style, like I can tell who the photographer is before I look, scroll up or scroll down on social media, even see who it was. I can't get them all right all the time, but majority of the time, Mike, I can tell an Alan Johnson photo from just about anywhere. Now, if he's told me on text, he's thinking about changing lenses. So if he changes lenses, that may curveball me and I'll have to readjust. But that's, I love what the photogs do. I really love what Maddie did, but let's back to you. Just course marking, getting out there, seeing the course, learning what it takes to get the event set up. It's like King Hammers. It's just a smaller scale about setup. There was still timing trailer. There's still the media trailer. There's still booths. There's still vendors. There was still food trucks.
Yes. All of that. I was not involved in any of that part.
No, and that's okay.
No, it was very interesting though to be there early like I was. Cause Dave Cole, he didn't even, I think he arrived, I think it was either Monday afternoon or something is when they showed up. So being there from the beginning of how they set the whole, national race up was very cool to see and be a part of. And just the ULTRA4 family is awesome. I love hanging out with them and learning. I've seen course markings because of being on the race course, but being a part of actually doing it, that was a blast. Like I told JT, I said, hey, I'm on board anytime you need help with that. So hopefully. well, your street cred's going like through the roof right now. That's like that's good stuff. And it is part of the homework and getting, so not just what the racers are going through, but you're starting to learn who the guys are and what their cars look like and where they're from. And so, you've seen names. I know you've seen lists on social media of guys' names, but now you're actually pressing the flesh and shaking hands, and you're kind of learning who they are, right? Right. Exactly. I'm trying my best. Oh no, I think you're killing it. That's why we're sitting down tonight. So you got some really amazing good news this week, though, right? You got some really amazing good news because we're kind of on the eve of a big race that goes on once a year south of the border. Yes. So you want me to go ahead? Oh, yeah. I love your news. So yesterday I was driving in town doing my normal mom duties and grocery shopping. And I get I got a text message from Julie Boyer, who has been racing quite a while herself. And she proceeded to ask me to call her. So I give her a call and she asked me to be a part of her team for the Baja 1000. So I am now going down and racing and driving part of the Baja 1000 for roughly almost 200 miles on the Pacific side. Oh, racing the mill. So, look at you. Oh my gosh. It's something I've always wanted to do. My husband did it. He won it back in 2011 in our Class 10 car. But ever since then, I've always wanted to race it. And when we had our Can-Am, I wanted to race it and it just didn't happen. So to be a part of this is awesome because literally like she is in it for the championship as well. So it's it's an honor to be a part of a team that is not only going for the championship, but it's also all women drivers.
Very exciting. Who are the other drivers?
Emily Shapiro is one of them, Julie Boyer, myself, and then Emmy Hall. So, and it's all women co-drivers except Emmy Hall has Bones Kudra, I think is how you say his last name. He is the only male that's actually going to be in the car. And it came down to availability of everybody. So pretty much an all-female team, which is pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. It's going to be a rough ride, though.
I think it is. Wait, if we go behind the scenes here, what do women do for guys have race caths. What do women do in a race car? You guys just pee the seat? Well,
I have worn a Depends before in a race car and used it, and it was not comfortable. So I will not be using a Depends. I hear they make female catheters. I've never, not catheter, but it's like a cup with a hose like the guys. I don't know how that works. So I don't know if I'm going to do that or pee in the seat. So I feel bad for whoever's after me if I do pee in the seat.
Well, I think that happens. I've climbed in a seat that a guy has peed in and sat down, and you don't realize it until it's delayed. It's not like you immediately get wet. It has to seep through your fire suit. And by then you're just hot and wet and steamy at that point. It is disgusting. And, but at the same time, I don't know that there's not another alternative. I mean,
there isn't.
Even guys wearing race caths, it's not, when it's not if you have a failure, it's when. Like you will have a failure on your race cath.
It has happened. My husband's had it actually happen to him before, and then comes out with a wet fire suit. But what sucks about it though is you think it's easy to pee while you're driving, and it is so not easy. You have to be in a speed zone to even try to do it because you can't pee when you're going however fast we'll be going and, bouncing around. It's not easy. You have to really think about it.
And womp, 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 womp.
Yep.
I never had that problem. I have no problem going at speed. No problem. Like it just, I guess that's a benefit. I could, is all it took was I just think about it for a second, get started. I continue on with my drive, and then I'm kind of like, okay, I'm kind of done. But I've also never had a race cath failure, but I have stepped on it a couple times, where it hangs out the bottom of your boot. Cody Addington had his on at Nationals, and he was standing next to me, and he went to shake my hand or hug me or something, and I just reached out and tried to purposefully and intentionally try to step on it, and as soon as he realized what I was doing, he started dancing around like, don't step on that. Oh, too much.
You know what my husband does? I got to tell you this. I know this is not about me, it's about him, but he keeps it on for quite a while, and he'll literally keep it on underneath his shorts or pants or whatever he has on, so he can just still hang around and have a beer after the race and not have to worry about going pee. And just sit there and stare at you, talking to you and pee.
Absolutely. Yeah, you just dig a little hole with your toe, and then you just kind of kick it like a dog or a cat covers their. You just kind of kick some dust over it and keep drinking your beer.
Shaking his leg. Good time.
Catheter talks, awesome. So you're driving the mill. That's coming up, and are you going down? Are you going to pre-run your section a bunch, or what's kind of the plan around that, or do you guys have that figured out yet?
Well, literally, this came about yesterday. I am now leaving Tuesday, as in a week from today. I'm going to go down. Actually, I'm going to fly into Bakersfield, where I used to live, because that's where the Boyers live as well. And we'll be leaving on Wednesday. So a week from tomorrow, we'll leave for the 1,000. We'll pre-run. I'm not sure if we're going to pre-run Thursday, Friday, Saturday, exactly what the plan is, but we're going to get down there, pre-run. And then I'm just going to stay down there after we pre-run. And then the rest of the team will be down in 2 weeks, and we'll tech the car and get our IVs, because actually Julie Boyer does the finish line IVs. So she hydrates the drivers. So we'll all get hydrated. And I'm excited about that, because I don't want to be racing dehydrated. The rest of the team will come down, and then I'll come home after the 1,000. I love adventure, and I have this mug that says "Say yes to new adventures," and this is a new adventure, and I'm super excited about it. Sucks my husband's not going to be going, but I'm going racing.
Yeah,
it's not the first time I've gone racing without him.
Right. Well, And from a guy's perspective, how many times do we go racing without our spouses? We're like, hey, I'm out here. Sometimes they're happy with it, sometimes they're not. But I love that you brought up the hydration and getting the IVs. When the Team Indiana guys were going to go race Vegas to Reno back in August, we were on a text chat, and I was like, dude, you guys need to make, sign, if you're going to, even if you're not going to go hit mucho más cervezas the night before, you should probably still get the IV. I mean, it's, on a hot race in a hot race car. Oh man. I mean, we saw a mistake that happened at Nationals, and I don't know if it was, I believe it was fatigue. I mean, I never asked him about it, but Josh Blyler, national championship, he's in the running for the national title. It's endurance racing, so it's not just keeping the car together, it's keeping you physically and mentally in the right place to make the right decisions. And he missed driving over one of the timing loops and had to do B loop again, I think is how it worked out. And that's how Eric Miller wins national title. And part of that is staying hydrated. And the first thing to go when you get dehydrated is vision and your thought process. Your mind starts wandering and you make mistakes. And sometimes those are costly. Like you wad up a car, and other times they're costly. You lose nationals. You lose the national title. So.
Yeah, that was a bummer.
That's awesome though. So she does that?
She does that. She actually was the one at Vegas Reno doing those IVs.
Oh, so then that's probably who Jonathan Terhune and company got their IVs from. Yeah,
more than likely, because it's her. She's building a business on it. And it's, I never heard of it. And then the last time I raced Vegas Reno myself was, I believe 2018. And she was there doing them. And I failed to get one, and I should have, because I myself got a little dehydrated. Vegas Reno is my favorite race to actually drive. So
it's so fast.
I failed. Yeah. It's the best race. It's the best race in North America.
Well,
in America, United States.
No, I'm with you. I like it. I like the fire roads. It's just so dusty, and it's the first week of August, and it's so hot. It is. It's ridiculous hot.
It is. I've heard rumor they might switch it up next year, and go from Reno to Vegas.
How crazy would that be? That's a great rumor.
I don't know who I heard it from, but oh my gosh, if that would be awesome. A lot of people have always said they need to do that. And if they actually do it, how super cool would that be? End in Vegas and party in Vegas afterwards? I'm down.
Yeah. I mean, Reno's nice to party in, but Vegas is Vegas.
Vegas is Vegas.
Do you change the name as a R to V?
I would have to.
I would hope so. I don't know.
Backwards? I
don't know. Well, let's get the flashback going. Let's get back into who Pam Hall is and find out about you. So you were born in Elk City, Oklahoma, which really isn't that far from Davis, where we raced. Was maybe an hour and a half.
It's probably about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. Yeah. It's on the I-40. It's in Western Oklahoma. I was born there a long time ago, but my dad was born there as well. So my family was from that area, or my dad's side of the family was from that area. And then when I was 7 years old, my dad's family, they sold the family farm that we lived on, and we moved to California, where my mom's family was from. So I lived the next 35 years in California, and then up and moved to North Carolina last year with my husband and my child. And got away from the West Coast. But Oklahoma. I've only been back a few times.
I drive through there. I've never lived. I like partying in Oklahoma. Like it seems like I'm always recreating there. It's like between Grand Lake on the water, growing up as a kid, or going to Disney, Oklahoma with rock crawling, or going to Sayre for Dirt Riot, or going to Davis for ULTRA4, or going to Little Sahara to the dunes. Oklahoma has a lot of off-road and outdoor activities, surprisingly enough. Yeah.
It does. I'm learning all about it. And I guess there's Mid-America is another association.
Yes. We're going to be there next July. Are we going to be there? Bring him.
I want him to race it.
So Jay, Oklahoma, it's next July. I think Chip brought this up a little bit when we talked about it. It's apparently an 8-day off-road outdoor festival. And ULTRA4s are going to be there, or at least there's a spot for them. I don't think it's a national point race, but I think it's kind of like they're going to have it set up like a Crandon. Okay. I could be off on that, but
it's not on our schedule.
It's not. No. Mm-mm. Dave purposefully, intentionally took me and introduced me to Jason that is doing it. So I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to what they pull off there. But a lot of stuff going on in Oklahoma. But you live in Nebo?
Nebo. It's a super small town. We don't even have a stoplight. Oh wait, no, we have one stoplight.
and it's like northwest of Charlotte a little ways. How long does it take you to get over there?
It takes me about an hour and a half to get to Charlotte. Well, to the airport anyways. But I live on Lake James. So Lake James is a big lake here that we found 5 years ago, fell in love with the place and moved here. But Nebo is what our township is, but I'm on the cusp of Morganton, which is a bigger town.
Okay.
So I usually say I'm from Morganton, not Nebo, because Nebo's like, where's Nebo?
A dot.
It's kind of like, where's Randsburg?
Right. So how did you and Christian find Morganton and then just say, we're punching out of California and going all the way 4 time zones different?
Right.
How does that happen? Walk us through that. I'm fascinated.
Well, we always knew we wanted out of California. We just didn't know where we wanted to go. So we actually had traveled with some friends to Idaho and stayed there for like a week. And my best friend actually lives in Texas. And so at the time she lived in Denton, Texas. And I was going back and forth probably every 3 months visiting her. And I told Christian, I'm like, we have to move to Texas. Like, we can move to Texas. We can have land, we can have a nice house. Like, we have a nice house in California, but land where we were was just outrageously expensive. So we had some other friends that the wife is actually from North Carolina. She was born and raised here. She moved to California. She was married to a movie star, moved to California, but remarried one of our friends. They finally got us to come out and visit them here. So they had a little tiny trailer in an RV park on the water. So we came and visited and stayed for 4 days. The other 4 days of our trip, we were going to Texas because that's where I wanted to move. And we absolutely fell in love with it so much that when we were in Texas, we were there for like 1 day. And I turned to Christian. I said, we're not moving here. We're moving to North Carolina. So literally 2 weeks later, we bought a tiny home, which is a park model. It's 400 square feet. It was within the RV park, but it's like a cabin. So we bought it so we could vacation here. So we came every summer for 2 months because of the business that we had. We were able to leave it for roughly a month and a half to 2 months every summer. And we knew right away we wanted to move here. So like I said, 2 weeks after we visited, we bought that place. We showed back up here 3 other times within that same year. Started looking for property, and it took us 3 years to find property and to decide how to get rid of the business that we had. Because he was a photographer, owned a studio for 20-something years. And, we had a very well-established business there. And we worked together. So, yeah. Anyways, but we moved here. Love it. Hank loves it. He has property to ride his dirt bike on. He's made new tracks. We have almost a 10-acre pasture that I hop on the tractor and I bush hog it because that's the way we mow it here.
Yeah, right.
Takes me 6 hours on a tractor to do, but
work on your tan.
Work on my tan. No, I wear a boat hat, like the big shade hats, because I don't want a tank top tan. So after I'm done doing that, the next day we'll go out on the lake and then I'll get my regular tan.
So you don't want like the white trashy one. You want like the bikini one.
No.
Like there's
a difference.
I should have known the difference, but I'm a dude. I didn't. I do know what I like, but I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I guess that would be different
No.
if you see like a girl with a tank top tan with a bikini on, so it'd be red or tan, white, and then the strap, and that would be that'd be pretty trashy. Though. Actually, that might turn some guys on. I don't know. That might be their thing.
I don't know why it would, but no, we're at the races so much because of my kid that I used to get tank top tans because of being at a racetrack all the time, like every weekend. So now I don't have to worry about it. We go out on the lake and the hubby takes me to this island that we all hang out on and I get me a regular tan.
Perfect. So you said, your dad was from Oklahoma, and then when you guys moved to California, and your mom and dad, I think you lost your dad last year. Is that right?
I did. Yes.
I'm sorry about that.
We moved here. It's okay. It's sad and I miss him. And this year on Father's Day, I woke up going, I can't forget to call my dad today. And then I realized I was like, I can't, he's not here. So he told me last summer the day we were leaving, he said, when are you coming back to California? And I said, I'll be here in September. Hank has a race because we were flying back and forth. And he said, I won't be here. So he knew. But with COVID and the election and everything, it's better off my dad is not here, because this would have been driving all of us bonkers, because he was getting Alzheimer's. So,
oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's rough.
Yeah.
And then your mom is like a super strong individual.
She is. She has a lot of health issues, but she's super strong. She's staying with us, and not staying with us here in North Carolina, but she's not ready to go anywhere. She wants to see her grandkids growing up, but she has osteoporosis. So her back is broken like 6 places and won't ever heal. And yeah, it's just, I've learned by family members and watching my parents of don't smoke, just take care of myself. So that's what I do. I try to do my best, I'm an advocate of don't smoke. Yeah.
Don't smoke.
Don't smoke. Take care of yourself. Exercise. Right.
You preach it to the choir. I need to do more of the exercising. I need to lose some weight. My diabetes doctor, I had an appointment last week, and they're like, you need to do these things. I'm like,
Yeah, it's hard.
It is.
It's hard. But my mom is a super strong individual. She's definitely been here for me for my whole entire life, obviously, but she's just super strong, and she's the kind of person that doesn't care. She has no filter, and she'll tell you what she thinks, and
made you who you are.
She's always been and she's always been a hard worker, but she just, the strength that she has to keep carrying on with the health issues that she has, and alone tells me what kind of person she is. And that is the hardest part of being so far away and living in, North Carolina, almost 2,700 miles away from my mom, is like the hardest thing. I sometimes will stand at my counter, and all of a sudden I just break out in tears, because I think to myself, I can't just drive over and see my mom. And it's the weakest part of her life. So next week, she doesn't know it yet, but next week when I go to California before we leave for Mexico, I'm actually going to show up and surprise her. So nobody knows I'm coming except the person I'm racing with and my family here. So I'm just going to show up and surprise her.
Or she'll listen to this on Monday morning, which everyone else is.
No.
And like, you're not gonna
I hope she doesn't. I'm not going to share it yet until I get there.
There you go. Well, she sounds like the type of individual, like when you run across them in life and you realize like how good they are, like you always keep them close to you. You keep them in your back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
We all have, friends that we've collected friends because we just jive with them that well. And we feel they're that good based on our own individual criteria, that they are these amazing individuals. So we keep them close. Your mom sounds like one of those people.
She is definitely.
That is awesome. So your dad, not with us anymore, but he is kind of one of the reasons you kind of were probably ended up with Christian, your husband, because he motorsports. Your dad was a circle track racer.
My dad was a circle track racer growing up. So living in Oklahoma, he used to race at a track in Altus, Oklahoma, and it was a circle track. It was a pavement track at the time. Now it's dirt, but that's where I spent my Saturday nights when my dad was racing. I just remember going and watching my dad race, and then watching my mom be like crew chief, kind of like I am to my son's racing, watching that. And then when I moved to California, he still raced, and he did circle track there as well, but on the dirt. And then growing up, the whole racing, everything. So my husband is desert off-road. My dad was circle track. So I just naturally was, I guess, attracted and had a lot in common with Christian because of the racing. I didn't really know him before, so I didn't race a lot. Like, I didn't go to any desert races until after I actually married him, to be honest. Well, no, we were dating when I first raced with him, but
But you were already kind of had one leg in to the racing world.
Racing.
Because sometimes it's hard to,
hard to explain.
Yeah. Relationships maybe never even get off, on the right foot, because the guy is always in the shop, and the girl or girlfriend or whatever feels like she's competing with the race car and competing with the shop time and all this, or competing or they're always going to play second fiddle to that. And then there's some women that they are already in that, and they're like, you didn't know any better.
No, I didn't. My mom has pictures of me from when I was a kid and my dad was working on a truck or something. And I'm like next to my dad. Like I was the tomboy of the family. Well, I guess we were all tomboys because we lived on a farm, but my parents tried one more time for a boy and they got me. So I have 2 older sisters, but I was the one who like went into the racing side of it. So it's just kind of cool to like look back at pictures and see my dad working on cars and I'm right next to him, or the race cars. I remember him taking me for a drive down. We had a dirt road in Oklahoma that we lived on. And I remember him taking me for a drive in his race car. And that was so much fun. And I think I was probably 4 or 5 years old when that happened. And I just still remember that. And that's the love of speed and race cars, has always been there with me. And then when Christian throws me in his car, hey, you want to drive my race car? I'm like, sure.
Right.
And that was it. But I also grew up with this girl named Amber. Her brother is Kevin Harvick. And so I grew up actually going when we were younger, I would go to his go-kart races with her and her family. And then as he got older and he started racing bigger cars, we would go out and watch him on Saturday nights. So I've always been around the racing world. I no longer speak with Kevin Harvick, but he is who he is. Everybody knows who he is. I miss those Saturday nights at the racetracks watching people race and I guess I see my kid do it, but it's just something I grew up doing. It's my life. And so that's why I love racing so much, and people don't get it, but it's just been my whole life.
Well, we're going to mix it up a little bit and kind of kick it out a little bit out of order. So we've talked about Christian and we talked about Hank a little bit. So Christian, you've been married for how many years now?
It'll be 13 years on November 17th. And I think that's the day Baja 1000 is. No, it's the week. I'll be in Baja on our anniversary.
Happy anniversary, Christian. Poor guy. Poor guy. Yeah. You're out ripping it. I mean, love that is true love. Okay. And Christian, he's a professional photographer.
Yes. He did that for 20 something years. When we moved here, he packed it up and said, I'm done. And so he's not doing it anymore.
So how did you guys meet? How did that come to be?
Mutual friends.
Your mutual friend set you guys up?
Yeah. A mutual friend didn't set us up. We were just at a house party and we just, when you know. And so we had a connection. And then I actually worked for him for 5 or 6 months. And then we decided to give it a try. And then we were inseparable. So the day we got married, I got fired. But I still had to run the studio for him.
For less pay.
I didn't get a paycheck. But, right. Actually, I did get a paycheck. He paid me in race cars.
Yeah. Which I've seen some cool. So again, I saw a video of it was a Saturn. It was, you guys had a little 2-door Saturn. And I want to say, like, what did he do? He put like McDonald's trays or something or plastic pipe or something on the rear tires. Yeah. So it's basically like a 2-wheel drive drift car.
It was. Okay. So in Bakersfield.
Front wheel drive drift car.
Front wheel, yes, it had to be front wheel drives. But in Bakersfield at Kern County Raceway, they were starting a skid pan class, and so we were racing on the legend. Yeah, it was a class. So the whole thing was the car had to be no more than $500. So literally, Christian, being Christian, because he can find deals even if they're not out there, he can find a deal. So he finds 3 front wheel drive cars at a junkyard that actually still ran. And he purchased all 3 of them for $1,100. So we had 3 skid pan cars. We had one that we would let people drive. Like we'd have friends, hey, come out for the weekend and have fun. And then he would drive one and I would drive one. And then they put steel plates, I don't know how thick they were, on the rear wheels. They took the tires off the rear wheels and they welded them to the wheels. And then they put chains to the car so they wouldn't fly off. And then you had a skid pan. And they had to be front wheel drive. But I kind of got messed out of the whole deal because mine was a stick shift. You could not have a stick shift and do a skid pan. It just didn't work right. So anyways, Christian ended up becoming the track champion.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. But that was so much fun. We would play around at our shop on our concrete pad that we had there at our race shop to like make sure the car was working right and stuff. But the best part about it was the track is the one who did all the work on them. They ended up putting the partial roll cages in them. They put all the skid pan stuff on them, and they housed the cars, so we didn't have to do anything to them.
Holy smokes.
So that was the best part.
Now, I saw that. I was like, I just want to do one just to, mess around with in my neighborhood, or out in front of my shop and just to mess around with. And then, it's a series. Oh, wow. I mean, man, you look around here. I bet there's idiots around here that do that too. And those are my type of people. I'm that type of idiot.
Racing.
I've seen that. I've seen videos. Racing? I've seen that. Yes, I actually have seen that part. Hey.
Okay. Yeah. It's not as fun.
It just looks like a lot of mess.
It is because they make it a mess. It's because you put beer cans and like empty cans and stuff in the door. And then when you turn, everything flies out. So you're trying to mess with the person behind you. just dumping stuff out on the track. And then you guys have an amazing son, Hank. He's 12. Yes.
And you guys are bringing him up, right? He's racing, and he basically, from what I've seen, everything that has a wheel and a motor, he is all into. So tell us about that dude.
Yes. Okay. So he started racing at 5 years old. We bought him a trophy cart for Christmas. He was actually 5.5. We bought him a trophy cart, which a lot of people know what those are. They race with Lucas Oil off-road, like the off-road and the regionals. And he couldn't actually go race until he was 6 years old with Lucas Oil. But at the time, funny story, Julie Boyer, who I'm racing with at the 1,000, she had a series called 4 Racing, and it was at Glen Helen. She invited us down to go race with her series. And so Hank had his first race when he was 5.5 years old. And he just nonstop from there. Once he turned 6, we went to Lucas Oil. He raced that for, like 4 years, I think it was 4 or 5 years. He went from a junior 1 class to a junior 2, which is just the same car, different motor size. Started in circle track. Once we put him in circle track, it totally changed his off-road style. They helped each other, like his driving style from one to the other, just from sliding in the circle track to going and taking the corners and Lucas Oil. It taught him a lot.
It melded well.
Exactly. And then he went into a Bandolero at 10. So he's 12 now. So at 10, we got him a Bandolero, which is like a miniature NASCAR style. They can go upwards into like the 70 mile per hour speed. And once we put him in that, he podiumed his first race. And it was very nerve wracking because he's racing against kids that are going for championships, and they're seasoned racers, and they're like 3 years older than him. But he ended up podium. He was 3rd place his first race. We pushed and pushed and pushed, and he wanted to win a championship. So 2019, of course, the year that we moved to North Carolina is the year we go for a championship. So he ended up winning 3 championships in 2019. So he won the West Coast National Championship, the state of California, and then Kern County Raceway's track championship. And then he got 3rd place in the national touring points because we went to so many different tracks. So we were those crazy parents that year, but it was all for him. He got his Hoosiers purple jacket that he wanted. There's a champion jacket that Hoosier does. And but now, and he also races in RS1 whenever we can, which is obviously we all know that's a single seat, 1000 cc Polaris RS1 for adults, but the kids are starting to race them now. And he went in 2019, before we moved here, he raced at the UTV World Championship in Laughlin in a exhibition class to see if the RS1 with a restrictor in it would be competitive towards the Polaris 570. Matt Martelli, they all knew, it was an exhibition class. We're trying it out. 2 kids, my son and then Justin Lambert's kid, Jackson. They were the only 2 that were in an RS1 in the 570 class. Start dead last out of 30-something cars. My kid passed every single car and won overall in that race. So he passed 30-something cars and won. And he came in with tears in his eyes because he knew he had just passed every single car. But exhibition, it wasn't recognized. We all knew that going into it. He knew that going into it. But he still did that interview with Tiffany Stone up on stage and did everything and was so happy and so pumped. But we didn't get to go back this year so he could redeem it.
Oh, right.
Because we were here. Such a bummer. But actually, I was at the Rebel Rally. I was working the Rebel Rally during it, so we didn't go. Yeah, I'm trying to get him in Ultra 4 though. I want him to be an Ultra 4 racer. So all we have to do is build this RS1 up for Ultra 4.
And talk to Levi. Surely has a line on some fake IDs, because I was getting ready to talk about. We're going to talk about Hank Hall. What, he turns 18 this year?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. So he'll be 18 for the February 2021 race. Yeah,
exactly.
That's exactly how that works. We just put it out there, and it makes it real.
He's not 12. He's 18.
Yeah, I missaid that. My notes were wrong. My notes were wrong. Yeah. 18. I mean, I'm old enough that I could have an 18-year-old. I'm old. I don't know. I didn't go do the math. I'm really terrible with it. So
I'm older than a lot of people think. So it's a good thing, I guess.
So you moved to North Carolina. That's basically not off-road racing, but it is the on-road racing kind of mecca of the world. You guys are kind of there in the dig. So circle track is really big there. So do you see that being something of a future for Hank, being something in that part of the world?
It would be nice, and he would like that. But in the reality and the scheme of the whole entire picture, to become, even ARCA racer, you have to come in with a lot of money for that. And some people do get sponsors, but honestly, we're not pushing like we did on the West Coast. We came here to chillax a little bit, if I want to put it that way. He does race, but just not like we did there. So we're actually right now in the works of trying to figure out for 2021, do we want to get rid of his circle track car and just focus on whatever we can with him in off-roading? Because they do have some off-road associations here, but as they call it, they're racing in the sticks. So we have to put rock guard or tree guards on the tires so he doesn't totally get tangled up in a tree, hopefully. But that's what we're working on right now, trying to figure out what we're doing for 2021, because we're a self-funded race team. We're not. Yeah,
and that's fair. I mean, look at what happened. Just look at what happened to Nationals. Look at what happens the last couple. King of the Hammers. Look at guys like Eric Miller. Look at guys like Josh Blyler. Nobody is faster in tight rocks and trees than Josh Blyler. And Eric Miller has to catch up to him. So anyone that's riding on Josh's coattails on that, it's those guys, and they're so fast in the rocks, they're so fast in the trees, the tight stuff. So it's because they grew up doing it. Those guys running the Line Mountain Series, that's all they know. So if you raise Hank for he does a bunch of tight, tree races in North Carolina for the next 4 years or 5 years, and he shows up at Ultra 4, all of a sudden he already has it, right? He understands hitting those things ruins your day.
Right. Exactly. I know. And Hank and I stopped actually in Louisiana at S3 Power Sports, and we talked with Dustin Jones. Dustin Jones, we all know, has, raced the King of the Hammers in his Can-Am. And we were talking, and it's all about, that's how he grew up racing. And so grew up racing, in the sticks and whatever, is going on back here on the East Coast. And you go to the West Coast in the desert, and that's why they're so fast, because they don't have to wiggle their way through trees. They now have a straight line desert that they can just haul butt and go fast. It shows. It's kind of like, how I was saying how Hank went from circle track and off road and it changed his driving style. It's kind of like it coincides with each other and makes them a better driver.
Well, I mean, that's Hunter Miller,
yeah,
UTV.
Exactly.
He's a Woods guy from here in Texas, and he came out to King of the Hammers and first time racing Ultra 4, first time at King of the Hammers, and he wins the UTV race because of that background. I think, Hammers definitely favored in the early days. Hammers favored the guys that recreated in the Hammers all the time, right? They knew it at the back of their hands, the Randy Slausons. But now we've got, guys like, Eric Miller just wins nationals. They load up in the 18-wheeler, and they didn't go back to Maryland. They went to Johnson Valley.
Right.
Because they were already halfway across the country. Let's just go ahead and finish out the rest of the country. So they're out there testing, tuning, practicing, and that's what it is. It's the playing field has kind of gotten leveled on those guys that had that, I call it tribal knowledge of what Johnson Valley was and what the trails were and what the rocks were and all the paths and all the shortcuts. Well, now guys are doing their homework, but they're coming at it with a different set of eyes, right? The different mindset. They're coming at it with this immobile
right
barrier for entry mindset anyway. and they're being successful at it. So it's really cool to see all these different walks of life all merge and meld together into what's Ultra4 has become. But I can see Hank doing that.
Yeah, me too.
So you guys ran the Christian's photography business for many years. He had it for like 20 years. And then, but before when you guys first met, you were working in a pharmacy?
I did. I was a pharmacy technician. I actually got my first job at 16 in a grocery store. I was bagging groceries, worked my way up into checking. And I mean, checkers actually made decent money back. I was 18 years old making, $20 an hour as a checker at a grocery store. And then I went into a customer service position there, of course, because I love to talk to people and help people. And so once I was in that, I went into the pharmacy and I was grandfathered in and have my pharmacy technician license. So I did that for years before Christian's business and before marrying him or working for him and then marrying him. But now here in North Carolina, I have my real estate license and
how's that going?
I'm on the road a lot. So
yeah.
That's how that goes.
I fully saw that coming when I saw your real estate license. It's like, how does she sell houses when she's never there?
Yeah. Well, I actually got my license right before Hammers this year. So right before I went, I passed my state board and I go to Hammers. I come home. I'm home for 2 weeks and then 3 weeks and I left and went to work the Mint 400 because I did driver's registration there for Mint 400. And then after the Mints when COVID hit. So in reality, I haven't had time to build it. But then again, because the offices were closed and it's hard to, really it's hard.
Well, it's hard to show a house when people don't want other strangers touring their house when you don't know where they've been. And so but also I'll tell you my neighborhood, the house turnover and, they're selling. It's like, it is completely a seller's market right now where I'm at because the inventory for new homes is apparently really low. I didn't feel like construction slowed down during this, but it must have slowed down just enough. No.
It didn't slow down here. Our houses, they don't stay on the market here. They still are not staying on the market here for very long. Like within a week, houses are selling. We had almost a $3 million home and the most expensive home on the lake here. Well, it was the most expensive home on the lake. It sold in 10 days and it was almost $3 million. Somebody came in and bought it cash. So real estate's moving. I'm not home. I'm really not home. I show property when I can, but otherwise I'm not home. I'm quite enjoying being on the road, to be honest with you.
Being it's fun. Off-road mom, race mom, and just this in general off-road personality. Like you are a off-road personality at this point. How cool is that? Yeah, add that to your resume.
There we go. It's pretty fun, actually.
And then, outside of that, everyone knows mom, housewife, but homeschool teacher. You're teaching Hank at home through this, which a year ago I would give you like a whole bunch of street cred for that, like being like the home teacher, like homeschool teacher. But it's like half the country, 3/4 of the country, the moms are like homeschool teaching now. With at least we have of our two, one of them stayed home. He's just doing the online stuff. It really works better for him. But our daughter, she had to go back to face-to-face. But my wife is now, she still works 40, 50, been pulling some 50-hour weeks lately, but she's here in the house. But he's upstairs doing his stuff on his school stuff, and she's doing her work stuff, and they're just here. So it's the homeschool mom thing. But you're doing that, and you're obviously pulling that off well. Well,
when I'm not here, Christian's doing it all, so he's a good dad. A good husband.
And he's in the background. I can hear it. You turn your head.
No, he's not actually. He went to bed. Lights are out.
Oh, nice.
Kids hanging out. He actually is in there hanging out with his buddies, but on like some video game. But he only gets to do that every once in a while. No, the whole homeschool thing is tough. Like we weren't super excited about the district here in North Carolina when we moved here, and then when COVID hit. We didn't even hear from his school for 3 weeks after. And we were sitting here going, okay, for 3 weeks, we're sitting here not knowing what's going on. And then they give them optional work and they end their year with what grades they had. So they weren't very planned. They didn't plan very well. So we actually have them through, it's on track school is what it's called. And it's actually based out of California. So his teachers are all over the United States and he's doing good. He's trying to slack here and there, but we stay on him. We definitely don't want him slacking. Because no racing if he's slacking.
He's a teenage boy.
Oh right? My gosh, yeah. I know. Going on 18.
Yeah, right. And knows everything. Right. See, I've got one of those. I got one of those myself. Yeah. So
he's a good kid though.
Hall Motorsports. How old is Hall Motorsports at this point?
13 years old.
Yeah. How did Christian get into off-road racing?
His dad had a Honda Odyssey, I believe is what he had way back in the day. He has a really cool picture actually of his dad having fun in them in the dunes at Pismo in California. But I think him and his dad built a class 5 bug and they would race it. That's what they used to do. I wasn't around when that car was around. That was before me, but that's how he got into off-road racing. But he's always been a dirt biker. So he's always ridden dirt bikes, and he grew up playing in the desert with his dad and riding in dune buggies and motorcycles, and just transpired into a cage because he broke his collarbone one too many times.
with age comes the cage, as you giggle.
Exactly. Exactly. And with me, it just came with a cage. He's bought me a dirt bike and I don't ride it. So I'll ride it, but not crazy.
So yeah,
I like cages. You
guys started dating, and then so obviously he introduced you to off-road. You knew the circle track world. He introduces you to off-road, and then at some point he gets the idea to put you in a car. How did that go down?
Yes. So we were dating like 2 months, maybe 3 months, and he
quick.
Yeah. Well, I had already driven the car at this point. Like when we were first dating, I drove the car. But like 3 months after we were dating, he asked me to co-drive for him. I mean, I didn't have a kid. I didn't care, whatever. Let's go have fun. So we go, and it was when MDR was still around in California. And we went and raced in Lucerne Valley, which is around Johnson Valley area. Roughest race course I'd still have ever encountered. I co-drove for him. We finished the race. That same year, I was supposed to race Powder Puff, and a month before Powder Puff, I found out I was pregnant. I didn't think I could have kids. I was told I couldn't have kids unless I did in vitro, and so, I mean, we weren't taking any precautions, and I ended up pregnant. So after I had Hank, he was 5 months old. The following year, obviously, in 2008, I did the Powder Puff in Barstow. And that was my first race I drove, and I ended up winning that race. I did sportsman class, but I was hooked. I was hooked from the first time I drove that car when we were just dating. But everything just transpired after that. So we raced in sportsman for a while, and then we ended up getting rid of our sportsman car and getting a pre-runner. It was a Pam Hall 4-seat pre-runner, and we said, "Oh, we'll just play in this car. This will be a play car. We're not going to race anymore." That didn't happen. We ended up racing that car in sportsman at like Battle at Prim and some other races. And we said, we can't tear this car up. Like, it was a pretty car. Like, you don't want to tear it up. So we ended up purchasing a class 10 car from Pam Hall. And that was in 2011. We built the class 10 car and had that until 2016.
And that was a red car, right?
Yeah, it was a red car. It was the one in 2011. I won my Powder Puff race that year in it. We raced the Baja 1000 that year, and that's the year he won the Baja 1000. We went to just finish, and we ended up winning by like 2 hours. It was kind of a crazy thing. And then we started racing the HDRA series after that, which we didn't, that series didn't, keep going. And then we went into Best in the Desert and started racing the Mint 400, Vegas to Reno, the Blue Water Desert Challenge,
all the fun
fun races.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We made sure we did all the fun ones.
And then that car was even in a video game.
It was in the Forza Horizon 3 and 4, or was it 4 and 5? We got a phone call asking if they could have the graphics for it. We got the photos from certain races and everything, and they put it in the video game, so we can still drive it, and it's a lot cheaper now.
Right. That is fun. Like that is so fun.
It was awesome that it was in the video game, but it was also the centerfold, the centerpiece, the masterpiece in metal when Dirt Sports was around back in the day.
I remember this.
So we were. Yeah, that was that car.
The first time I remember seeing a masterpiece of metal was it was J.R. Reynolds, the UFO ULTRA4 car.
Okay.
This is UFO before Joe Thompson had UFO Fab. This was it was an IFS car. It was a work art, a ton of TIG welding. It still races KOH. I can't think of who the current owner is. I know somebody's listening to this show right now going, he owns it, exactly who it is. I don't remember who it is, but it transacted hands just a few years ago. It's just a beautiful car, but that was really what the masterpiece was. I guess I hadn't seen Dirt Sports before that issue. But yeah, those were always cool to see how builders were building things, and they were raw.
Oh yeah.
It was just a cool piece. And then, so you guys at some point, 2016, you get out of the class 10. Christian has a Baja 1000 championship under his belt from that thing.
Yes.
And you guys build a Can-Am X3.
Yes. That was so much fun. I miss that car every day, actually. Yeah, we built that in 2017. We actually would have quite the discussions of who was going to start the race and who would finish the race when we would race the car, because I was pretty much guaranteed to give him the car because he drove a lot harder than I was smoother and I was better in the technical sections. But as far as like the fast stuff, anyways, I would give him the car. Except one year I kind of messed up at the Mint 400, but that's not a fun story.
Why we got to be bringing up old shit, right?
Yeah, no. We ended up only doing 2 of 3 laps, and it was my fault. But yeah, too many flat tires on that race. That was the last year I raced the Mint 400.
What was that, about 2015? 2015 was tough on tires.
No, it was 2018. I got 3 flats in the first 3 miles of the race. No joke.
You barely got out of the short course. I'm laughing. I'm laughing so hard right now.
We started. I can't remember if we started in the short course that year. No, I literally had a car on my tail. I knew they were on my tail, and I was keeping my line. I hit a rock, and it gave me a flat. So of course I have to pull off. We get out. We change the tire. At this point, we have tons of vehicles passing us. Get back in the car. Get strapped back in. I get behind a truck, like one of those 3,000 trucks. I can't remember what the trophy lights, I think is what it was. On the tail of this truck in the dust, and I don't drive in the dust, and this is one reason why I don't do this, but besides safety, I was on his tail, and they have in Best in the Desert, they have those pass push, you push,
holding it down.
You want to pass them. Yeah. And they were not moving over. And my navigator, he just kept, making sure it was going. And all of a sudden they move off. I'm like, finally. So I gassed it to go, to the left of them a little bit, hit a boulder. They weren't moving over for me. They were moving over for a boulder. Hit that boulder with front and rear driver's side, 2 flats, 3 miles out. Had to wait for Best in the Desert officials. They brought me out more tires, thank God. But there was no avoiding the boulder. So that was my horrible story that was the worst race I've ever had, to be honest. It's so frustrating to even talk about it, but
that's your worst story is still so amazing to so many people because it's like, wow, I wadded a car up or I burned my car down or. No. But we were down like an hour and a half because I had to wait for the tires and they had to go mount a couple tires because all of our spares were out at the remote pits. So we had, you disperse your tires out. And so we're borrowing and stealing from other people that have the same tire size. But I wasn't super excited about the tires we were running. I won't mention their names, but it wasn't my favorite tires. My favorite tires are actually BFGs. And I know I'm, Nitto with King of the Hammers and ULTRA4, but my dailies are BFGs. So yeah, we're not taking paychecks on this show, so I think you're okay.
That is true.
The thing about the show, Pam, is your secret's safe with me. No,
and everybody else that listens.
Something like that. So moving off of your racing career, you do have 13 years of racing resume and racing pedigree, just with your own self, with your own helmet and your own fire suit, but you're from a long line of racers. So
yeah,
you're in there, you're, immersed in it. So I find that super cool that you're there. I think that's it. But let's talk about like current affairs. So just before nationals, you said you're coming from another event, and I know that event to be the Rebel. Emily Miller's deal, the Rebel Rally. It's I've talked about this on the show a few other times. Ryan Miller was on, no relation to Emily Miller. Ryan Miller is on. He and his wife, his wife won, her and Terrelyn.
Yes.
They're like the favorites, right? They're like Vegas odds are those two are always going to win. How many teams were there at the Rebel this year? 40?
There were 36.
I guessed at 40.
teams.
Wow. I just figured how many could fit on a sheet, and it seemed like about 40. So 36 team, and it's a female driver, female co-driver.
Yes, and it's not a race; it's a rally.
It's a rally, so it's Ryan went through this, and if anyone missed that part, you'll have to go back to the Ryan Miller episode. I think he was this season, so 5 or 6 weeks ago. It seems to blur; they've kind of blurred together, but yeah. So they won, and so you came from Rebel to go to the Nationals, but. Tell me, or tell all of us about Rebel from your perspective. Like, you raced it at one point. I don't think you raced this year, but is that how you met Emily Miller and kind of ended up in the scene?
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
It is. Okay. So back in 2016, that was the year of the first Rebel Rally. But back in December, I think it was December 2015, this event was announced. And I saw that this Rebel Rally, all female event, was happening in the United States. And I was super excited about it. And I knew I wanted to do it, but I just didn't know how to go about doing it. Because I always wanted to do the Gazelle Rally, which is in Morocco. And that's an all female event as well. But that one's like $30,000. I think that's the cheap side of trying to do that rally. But it's a navigational rally only. So 2016 and 17, I was a competitor, and I fell in love with the event. But Emily Miller had called me. I was actually here in North Carolina on vacation, sitting on my dock down by my boat. Sarah Price had talked to Emily, I believe, or I had talked to Sarah Price at the Mint 400 that year, so 2016. She said, you should totally do it. Like, we've talked about racing and rallying. And so Emily Miller ended up getting my phone number, calls me and says, I have somebody that can be your navigator if you're wanting to do it. So she set me up with somebody. That person ended up not working out for me once we met in person and everything. And I wanted to do it really bad. So my girlfriend, Carrie, actually it's Julie Boyer, Rick Boyer's daughter-in-law. All the Boyers just keep popping up in my life. She became my navigator 2 weeks before the event actually happened. So she came in, she did all the navigating, and Rebel Rally is a map and a compass, and you have map tools. Like, that's the only thing you have.
Yeah, no phone, the off limits, no GPS. It's
exactly.
Like seconds and minutes over hour. Like, you guys are. Ryan had told me like there was a point where they had set up the tone rings on the ABS sensor to read off distance on because it was like you had to go. And Emily, the diabolical genius that she is, the evil evil doctor that she is, sets up everything. Everything is metric.
Yes,
is that right?
Everything.
So everything's kilometers. Yes. It's not miles. And so when you go down a road and you're going towards this waypoint that has at some point in the future down this road that you need to go, let's call 1 kilometer, which is, or 1.1897863 kilometers is what she wants you to go. And then you have to convert that to whatever your car is. So he said something about they modified like the tone rings in the ABS to count revolutions off the tire so that they knew going down this path that they needed that tone ring to click off 7 more times. Yeah. And so it's like 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're here. Let's mark, or how do they mark and take score of where they're at? How does that work?
Well, you had to be able to navigate on the map exactly where you were with the lat and the long. So that way of however they did their car, that's genius. I mean, mine was definitely not like that. I had a Terra Trip in my car and it half the time didn't work right. So I'm like guesstimating, okay, this is how many miles I need to go because it doesn't say in kilometers. But it's a difficult rally, like for people to be like them. I mean, who's going to beat them? I mean, Kaylee and Terrelyn, if they're in the rally, they're winning, especially in their 4x4 class. But the whole thing is just difficult. The whole rally is difficult. Like learning, you think you know how to read a map. You don't know how to read a map until you go to like one of the Rebel classes and Emily teaches you, this is how you read the map. This is how you triangulate. This is how you do your lat and your long with your map tools. And you have a plotter and a compass, and it's just mind blowing. The whole event is mind blowing. And
you really are set up to only the stuff that you leave wherever Reno or wherever you leave the beginning of the rally with is like, so if you had however many spare tires you carry, that's how many spare tires you have. If you brought one spare tire, that's what you have. You need tools. Exactly. You better have brought them. You better have planned to have brought them. Now, so I saw something there. I saw some guys or ladies ran the new Rivian electric pickup.
Yes.
What's the insight on that? Like I've seen, obviously they're getting some social media mileage out of it running the rally, but how did that work? Because like fuel and charging, they charged it at night. So what a great idea for marketing, but what do you know about that?
I know. Well, the Rivian, looking at the vehicle was super cool, and being around the engineers during the rally, like I actually hung out with them and got to talk with them quite a bit. And their PR person was also there, so I got to speak with her a lot. And we would go places. I would take them places during the day to get them out and about. But the Rivian, okay, so depending on the mileage that they had to do for the day, they would sometimes have to do like a splash charge. So there's this huge, semi truck that was done by Power Innovations, which powered all of our base camps as well, trying to go solar powered so it's quiet and no generators. This truck would actually be there to charge, like you said, at night. But during the day, sometimes they would have to stop off like halfway through the day just to make sure they had enough charge to get them to the end. So there were actually 2 electric vehicles. Well, one was a hybrid, but the Mitsubishi was the other one that had to be charged at night as well. But the Rivian was super cool. The truck is super cool. It's just weird popping the hood and there's nothing under there. Like that's where they keep their luggage. So strange. There's actually a picture on social media. I think Emmy Hall, because Emmy Hall is the one who drove it because she's the perfect person to have in these new vehicles. She drove a Rolls Royce last year in the rally. There's a picture of her and her navigator sitting inside of the car where the motor should be. They're sitting in it and took this really funny picture. It's pretty funny. But that's where they kept their luggage. Yeah.
So how long, now that you've been around that and seen what one of those had done, do you see any parallels to when something like that will show up in Ultra 4? Maybe not the truck, but maybe the drivetrain?
It would be interesting to see one in Ultra 4. I don't know how they would do like the travel and stuff of it, and how would they actually make the mileage, because there's no way they would be able to make the whole race mileage wise. Like there would have to be an electric class that doesn't go as far as the Ultra 4 racers go now, because I mean, what do they do? They do like, is it like roughly like 300 miles or something? What do they do at KOH? I think one of the loops,
let's call it
like 100.
Usually count on 250.
It wouldn't make it, because, you're using more power when you're in the rocks and trying to get up the obstacles and stuff. And then when you're going faster in the desert, that's obviously using more power. So I don't know how it would work, but I think it'd be super cool to actually have an electric vehicle. Yeah.
I think somebody will figure it.
Yeah.
I heard this around a campfire recently that David thrown the gauntlet out, like first electric race car to finish King of the Hammers. He's got $100,000 check for him. Is that bounty right? Is that right? Have you heard that?
I haven't heard that. Hell, I'll go get a freaking electric vehicle.
It was something that I heard thrown out. I don't know if it's real or not. If that's he'd put a bounty on it. I don't know. I mean,
there's an electric UTV coming out too, right? So does it have to be a car?
I have no idea. I don't know any of the details. Like literally the rumors.
His brain.
So I have a deposit down on one of the Nikola trucks, the Badger. And I hope that they build their factory. I hope I get to buy the truck. I like the looks of the truck.
Yeah.
I don't really like the look of the Rivian, but I get that it's probably going to get built.
I mean, it has 750 horsepower is what that one had for a electric. Have you ever driven an electric vehicle? Have you driven a Tesla?
I've ridden. Yeah, just ridden. And yeah, they're ridiculous.
They're ridiculous. I mean, you put that pedal down and because there's no gears to switch through, that thing just goes.
Or if you know, in our circles, Deke Smithers, he's one of the East Coast guys that, runs around like Miller and Casey Gilbert and that company, those guys. Deke he's hard into the Teslas. Like, and when he first went into them, I was like, what is this terribleness? No. And then now I know why. They literally will snap you back in the seat and hold you there.
Yeah, they're really fast. I've driven one once and I was really amazed. I was actually very impressed by how they drive.
So now with Rebelle, Emily Miller, she has seen your skill set. And so now she has you doing all sorts of little stuff for her there, right? Helping run the thing.
Well, what I do is I work their start line. So in the morning when the girls are lining up to go off on their day of their adventure, I am there to help them start their day. So because Emily, the first year of the Rebelle Rally, the very first year of 2016, I was the first car off the line for the very first Rebelle Rally. We drew number 1. So I know what it's like to be that car off the line. And my navigator and I, it's just, it was an awesome experience. So when I decided I wasn't going to be competing anymore, I told Emily I wanted to be involved in some way, somehow. So she put me on as the start line and the finish line because I would be my chipper self that I am and, smiling and happy and trying to cheer them up if they had a horrible day when they came in and, make sure they're going off on their day with, the reminders of staying hydrated and, having a good day and look around at their scenery and, bring it home at the end of the day. So the personality part of it is, I believe one reason why Emily has me doing what I do, because I am personable. I mean, I'm not cocky in any way, but people that know me know that I can talk to anybody. I mean, I jokingly say I can talk to the wall if I had to, but no, she has me doing that. So, and then this year she had me work one of the checkpoints. It was pretty cool to get to, be a part of the on-course stuff only for one day this year, but hopefully next time I'll get to maybe work some more on-course stuff like I did with JT Taylor at Nationals, but.
Right. I like how you're getting an angle in there.
Yeah.
Is this what Emily saw in you to bring you to King of the Hammers? Was that the first time you come to King of the Hammers was with her to work with her at KOH, or had you been out there before?
I actually had gone out there. I believe it was like in 2011. I don't know what year it was. I went out and actually watched King of the Hammers. It wasn't anything like it is now, the year I went and watched. I met Dave Cole, though. It was either 2009 or 2010. I was out pre-running for a race. This gentleman came over and said, hey, I forgot my radios. Do you guys have any extra radios that I can borrow? We let him borrow some radios and gave us his number, said, I'm Dave. I'm King of the Hammers. We're like, what is this King of the Hammers? Never heard of it. This guy's crazy. That's what... honestly, thinking in the back of our minds, it's kind of weird, but he ended up being a super nice guy. I always would, every year I'd send him an email. Hey, if you need help at King of the Hammers, let me know. And I never got a response. So Emily, 2016, I compete in the Rebelle. She says that she works King of the Hammers and runs the media tent. And I'm like, oh, I love King of the Hammers. I've gone there and watched the event before. I said, I know Dave Cole. And anyways, I don't know if she really thought that I knew Dave Cole or not, but she knew once he saw me. I ended up going and working my first King of the Hammers in 2017 for her. And she knew that I was right for the position that I was in because I was basically like a greeter. I greeted all the media. I knew a lot of the media as well, all the photographers, because of racing. A lot of them were at the other off-road races that I was at. So it really worked out well. And then just this year, now I'm, 4 years into it. Now here I am with ULTRA4. So lots changed in the last 4 years.
It's crazy, right? 2020, right? It's bad for some, but great for others. So let's get this is the point, right? This isn't the pinnacle of the interview, but this is the question. Like, what was the transition? What was the genesis of putting the microphone in Pam Hall's hand and putting her in front of the camera? Who pulled that off? Like, how did that go down?
I'm going to throw Ryan Thomas under the bus here. So in Tennessee, I was helping out with timing. So, I wasn't really helping out with timing. I was sitting there. Well, I was trying to help out with timing. And that was my first event to actually work with ULTRA4 because of COVID. You know, the other ones were canceled. So I'm in the infield at the finish line doing the checkered flag for them because timing is there at the end. And so was I. So they said, hey, do the checkered flag for us. Ryan Thomas comes over to me and says, hey, why don't you do the interviews for the finishers right here? Because Dan Campbell was there with the camera. And I'm like, you can't do this to me. They're right there. Like they were 30 seconds from being in. And I didn't know.
Here's the camera.
Here's the camera. Here's the mic. So I told Ryan, I said, I can't. Like, give me some time and I will. So anyways, the next time, so I didn't do it that time. I just continued doing the checkered flag and working with timing and everything. But the next event that was coming up was Crandon. So apparently Ryan Thomas, Dave Cole, Marty Fioca, they all like had conversation and decided that Crandon, they were going to put me on the podium doing the interviews for the finishers. And so that was my opening act for ULTRA4 was at Crandon, the big house, Labor Day weekend. And I had a great teacher. I had Ralph Sheehan. I had Miles. I had Tiffany Stone, and they were all, coaching me and helping me out. And Marty Fioca and Ryan, they were all helping me out. So I have great teachers, but that's how this happened. It came about. So here I still am. I'm loving it, and I'm learning so much. And it's definitely getting me out of my box because I can talk to anybody all day long, but you put a camera and a microphone in my hand, it makes me a little nervous.
Well, yeah. Then you go to Moab. You did Moab.
Yes.
Rusty's not the word because you're just in amateurs. That's probably not even the word either. You're learning, right? You're learning.
I'm like in preschool.
Yeah. When I sit and watch, so I've sat not in the Nitta Lounge even. I've sat other places and watched, Miles and company work in at Nationals. You guys 13 hours. You guys were on there for 13 hours. 13 hours filling space, filling the airwaves, dead air. You're filling dead air with I don't even know the right words for it, just BS.
Yeah.
There's only so much information that you're getting fed to you that you can convey, but then you're also filling it in. Then you have to, pull off of your own personal experiences, which we're learning you're fully qualified to pull off your own experiences here. It's not like,
right.
I equate it to when this was kind of being talked about as I was rolling this, through my head and talking about this with a couple people that, I bounce ideas off for this show. You're not like when the NFL put sideline reporters on the sidelines at all. They put a pretty face down there to get the camera on and then to get those 3-second and 5-second sound bites as the players pass them on the way to the locker room. No, Ryan, and I know Ryan was involved with this. Ryan Thompson, I think it was, in my opinion, very genius of them to put you in that spot. One, you are a very good looking woman. You're very personable. You're very friendly. You're not scared to talk to anybody, and you always have a smile. So you always have that going for you. All you didn't have walking into that is how to put all those pieces together to fill the dead air time.
Right.
And in 3 races, you're really filling those shoes well, is what I've seen.
I'm trying. Well, thank you. I'm trying.
now, what I'm going to say next, and I said it to Chip, which was this week's, and I'm going to reiterate it because you're the person to reiterate it with. If it's qualifying or if it's race day, if the live show is on, the live show is broadcasting, and you're a racer and your race is over, park your car wherever you end up. If you got to take it all the way back to your pits, okay, or pull it up outside the live feed trailer, go in and sit down.
Yeah.
Go and sit down. One, it does several things. It checks so many boxes. One, they get to hang out with you and Miles, or you, Miles, and whoever else, right? That's one. That's a huge box. 2, it gets them on the air, their name out there. They're synonymous with whoever their sponsors or partners are. They get to tell their story right there live to the entire audience, and it's recorded for the future. And it helps you guys fill space with truly from the horse's mouth information.
Right.
So
I agree. 100% agree with you.
I only saw one person do this, and I've called him out. Actually, I went and said something to him on Saturday night and just said, hey, I think what you did is awesome. I hope other drivers should do this. But Waylon Campbell came in after qualifying. Waylon came in after he his race was over at Nationals. Did any other drivers do that? You had like Josh West came in, but
no.
Josh isn't a racer.
No.
Yeah.
No, the ones that came in were the ones that finished the race, like the ones that came in finishers.
Yeah.
We didn't have anybody really that came in after they had a mishap or didn't complete. But yeah, Wayland, he came in for sure. He had quite the ending to that race, but he still came in.
Yeah.
And you know what? And the next thing you know, he's out in the pits helping with his dad coming in, and Ryan Miller, they came in, and I saw on the live show, because that's what I'm sitting there watching. I'm watching the cameras, and I see him, now he's working in the pits. That family is so amazing. Like,
they really are.
How they do that. But yeah, I definitely agree with you though. Like, the racers definitely should come in if they can, no matter if they had the worst ending to their race or not, still come tell your story, because the people that are watching it at home and watching the live show, it's only going to build the audience for that racer and for the live show, because now, like you just said, from the horse's mouth, they have the true live interaction of what happened to them on course. I get it if you're stuck out on course so far you can't come in. That's just a given. But the racers that do, get back to their pit, come on in and sit down and take a seat out. I'm always one of those, I sit and I pat that seat and I say, come on, sit down right next to me, and they come in, well, Waylon's the only one that came in, but yeah, they come in and sit down and they start talking about what they do. Like Dawson comes in every time I've been in there on the live show. He has came in and he has talked. That family is another family that just, I'm a big fan, because
the whole Allington family is great folks.
Yes, they are. And coming in and just knocking on that door and saying, hey, or just walking in and, hey, let's put this person on the mic, or even the sponsors that are there, like Ryan with Nitto. Hey, come take a seat. Let's talk about, the race for you. What's going on with you? So it's really good to have people come in and do that, no matter if you're a racer or one of the sponsors there. It definitely helps fill that airtime and gives us all something else to talk about besides hearing Miles and I's voice.
Right. Well, but it does help you and Miles, or you Miles and Ian, or you Miles, and you just everyone who ends up in that situation. It helps you guys because one, you get it from the horse's mouth, like I said, but you guys are out there, and I don't know how you do your homework yet, but knowing Miles, and I do know Miles, he may be one of the hardest working people going on at a race. When everyone is socializing and drinking beer on Thursday night or on Friday, he is drinking beer, but he's also taking notes and going pit to pit to pit to pit. And he sits down with his papers, and he's got the pictures, and he's constantly scrolling social media to see, to identify, one, what the driver looks like, two, who his co-driver is, what the car looks like, what the car looked like when it was clean, then what changes they've made between the last race and this race. Mm-hmm. And if you don't put it on social, he might not see it. So he's going, or if you're clandestine, I mean, there's not a lot of that in ULTRA4, but there's a little bit. But he's going pit to pit to pit, talking to everybody like, hey, tell me tidbits. So Friday night after qualifying, he's out there doing his homework, doesn't kill it until he's done. And then he shows up, and that's what he draws on for that next 13 hours of the live show. And he's just figured it out. He goes, if I put in my homework, I have stuff to talk about. But if people show up and sit down, then hey, that they come to him, right? Or come to you. Exactly. And so hopefully it comes to a point where they're walking up to you pre-race and post-race and be like, hey, here's what happened. And then you're like, I appreciate that. Yeah. I'll use that next time.
Exactly. And that's what, like, Miles doing that, going pit to pit, is awesome that he does that. I am learning who the drivers are, and I came from desert racing, so you give me the desert racers and I know exactly who they are. I can walk up and say, hey, but learning the ULTRA4 drivers, and I've always been a shy person, believe it or not. I have to start doing what he's doing and going to the pits. I'm not going to go sit and, drink beers with him afterwards, just because I'm just not going to do that. I mean, I'll have a beer, but it's different. I'm a girl.
It takes Miles about 13 to get all the way through all the pits. So that's, I'm only half joking. It's only like 7.
That, and I shouldn't say I'm a girl. That's not, I've been around all these racers enough to know that I can hang with the best, but I don't know how appropriate it is if I'm there. This is something I might want to scratch out, but I might want to not, like, the wives. I don't want, so you're looking at your time, right? Look at your time, because I might not want this in there. I don't want the wives thinking I'm there trying to hit on their husbands.
And I think that needs to come up. I think that's a good conversation piece to have.
Okay.
No, I really do. I believe that, because there is this, who is this hussy, right? Well,
right.
They're going to have the chance to, your record is, you're on the record here, but it's relationships are nasty and dirty, and people are nasty and dirty. I mean, like I've said on here before, I hate people, but I love humans. Yeah. And that's kind of where that goes. Like, it doesn't take much to someone to read into something that isn't there. And it happens on a regular basis. And that's where you see, like even within guys in motorsports, two alpha males, like having, because he didn't let him pass on this race 6 years ago, that now they still hate each other. And so there's kind of that. And I can see how you wouldn't want that, but I can't imagine,
it's hard.
And it's a family sport and it's a family environment, but it is predominantly a lot of guys around. But yeah,
it's hard to word it properly, but I'm not there for that. And I don't want women thinking that's what I'm there for. And I don't, the wives or the girlfriends, I don't know how to properly word that. But
I think you can do that during the daytime. I don't think it has to be, late in the pits, or if you're doing it late in the pits, you do it with you're with a group of others, and and you're there specifically, or you make sure you just grab one of the camera guys and try to get some snippets or something. I think there's ways around it to where people believe and know and recognize that everything that you're doing to put in background in your homework is above board. I
think maybe it's because I'm new. Maybe it's because I'm new and they don't know me. That's what I'm worried about. I don't know. But I mean, I would talk to the wives just as much as I would the husbands, because they're just as much as part of the team as, look at Leah Miller, right?
Listen, some of the wives are the funner of the couples out there in the pits. So like you go to like in the Rufus Racing pits, all the wives are way funner than the dudes. Levi Shirley's wife, funner than Levi. Eric Miller's wife, Lee, funner than Eric. I mean, we can kind of go on and on and on down the path. Like the wives are the funner than the guys. So,
yeah, I totally get you.
Yeah, hey, but that's a good concern.
Well, when we raced the Mint 400, the husband would go to bed. I would go out, but I had a bodyguard. I always called him my bodyguard. So I always had a bodyguard with me to make sure I got back safe and wouldn't go out by myself. So,
Mint 400. So my wife, love my wife, but she just does not like the desert. She doesn't like the races. She loves the people. The people she's all down for. So if we go vacation places that are not races, she's always in for that. But Mint 400 is the one that she always came to. She always came to the Mint 400 because it was in Vegas. We would go crash out. She'd go to the casino. Funny. Because she loves to play blackjack. So Vegas worked well for her. Mint 400 worked well for her. But I see exactly what you're saying, and I think a lot of people will be able to identify with that. It's a valid concern. We've all seen. I mean, we've all gone through friends and family that have gone through divorces over petty. Well, I'm going to use the lack of better words, petty shit. Like it's not real. But then we've also fully recognized when things have been askew and astray, and everyone's just very cautious about that and tiptoes lightly around those issues. So I'm with you. Yeah. Hey, I'm 100% there.
Okay. I just wasn't sure how to word it.
No, I don't think there's a right way to, I don't know. It's a messy hair around the situation deal.
Well, because I'm a friendly person, and people, and I know that people do sometimes take it the wrong way. And it's just like, that's just my personality. I'm a friendly person, and it's not just because I'm being super friendly doesn't mean I'm trying to go home with that person or does that make sense?
No, 100%. And I've actually read a lot about this in recent times, because the way dating has gone over the last 15 to 20 years, where it's predominantly gone away from how we used to meet, like in a bar or someone set us up or in person. You physically met them first, and you had to make that point of your pickup line or something, whatever that was. Right. Even if it's just bumping into them at the grocery store. Today, that's kind of weird. Like I'm told that's weird. I'm married. I can't even imagine being in the dating scene. That tells me how old I am.
No, I 100% agree with you on that.
I feel so bad for these people, but the people that have gone through divorces and are now dating, it's all online. And by the time you've actually made first contact, they've had the ability to scour your social media. So they've found your pictures of you wearing an American flag holding guns. Right. They've scoured you. They know who you are. They already kind of have a preconceived notion. Do they want to go on a date with you or not go on a date with you? So you already went through like a background check before versus back in the old days, we didn't have that. You was like, you had to date us like 3 or 4 times before you figured out we were a dud or not a dud. So I think it's really awkward. So where I'm going to kind of close this out is today, the human mind, I believe, likes the personal interaction, even though technology hasn't really supported it when it comes to dating. So when you have guys or women just doing personal interaction, just being themselves and being friendly and a smile, something as simple as a smile today can be misconstrued as attention in the wrong flavor. Right. And exactly. That's what I mean. And that's what it is. It's not even flirting, but someone could conceive it as a flirt by just being friendly. And apparently today, friendly is too much. So yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from, and your argument and your concerns, they hold water. They really, they hold water, and it's just not for you. I think it's society and kind of where we're at today. I know it's not just technology, but I know you're out doing your homework, and I know you're concerned about that stuff, but I wouldn't be that concerned. I think everyone's going to listen to the show and think that, wow, I hadn't thought about that, but I should think about that, because we're all dudes. I mean, of all the people that listen, the majority of them are dudes. So they're like, oh. Oh, so sorry. We just put this, was it the red letter, the A, the crimson A or whatever, the scarlet letter, God, I was good. So there's Pam with her scarlet letter. Like, Pam's like, why won't any of the drivers talk to me after dark? Well, because damn it. Sorry. Crap. Here comes Pam. Hide. I jinxed you. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, but you're totally settling in. That's the key where we're going with this is you're settling into this new role. A year ago, you didn't know you're going to be holding a microphone. You didn't know you're going to be live broadcasting. And now you're a motorsports announcer. You are a motorsports celebrity. You are a personality. I don't know. Is celebrity the right word? I don't know if no, not yet. I don't know if that's it. So like Lauren Healy, is Lauren a celebrity or is he just a personality? Or is Vaughn? I don't know. Like I'm like, if they're in my phone, if I have their number on my phone, they're my buddy. But I guess we know exactly. I mean, are they famous? I don't know. I don't know where that works today. Maybe that. I don't either. We'll talk about that in the next time you're on. But yeah, man. So kind of as we're starting to close this out, there's a couple more things I want to kind of wrap up with you. You want to race KOH yourself, right? You want to check that box. Oh my. Yes. So the Baja 1000, I'm getting checked off. And KOH is definitely, it's been on my radar since I came and watched it back. I think it was 2011. I think that's the year I came and watched it. I've always been like, I want to race KOH. Like, it's a dream of mine to do it. So I'm like, hey, who, I don't care if I was a navigator or the co-driver. I just want to do it. I just think it'd be so much fun to do that race. I know it's hard work and getting out and winching, and you got to be in shape and all of that good jazz. But my goodness, like, to race KOH is a dream of mine. Like, I want to do it so bad. Do you still think it's the single hardest one-day race on the planet? I don't know. I haven't done it, so I don't know. Well, I just mean from the outside looking in at it. Do you think it is? Outside, yeah. I would say it probably is right there with the Baja 1000. I mean, depends on the length of it, and I probably, because you have all the rock, all the obstacles that go through and everything. It's different. So, and how many drivers actually finish KOH? Every year it's a very small, minute number of drivers. When Dave started, he said if no one finishes, it will be successful. I could see him doing that. Yeah. No, I think 30%. I think when it starts getting sub 20%, I think kind of, in my opinion, kind of becomes problematic. It starts losing some luster. But then when some of the stuff like KOH this year, I felt, this is from the outside looking in, right? I was media now. I'm media now. It felt like Ultra4 wasn't prepared for the leaders to come back as quickly as they did this year.
See, I'm in the media tent, so I have no idea. But yeah.
So let's talk about the future real quick before we close out with you. The future. You want to learn how to weld. What's that about?
I've wanted to learn how to weld for probably 10 years now, and I can't let my husband teach me because he can't weld. Sorry, honey, but yeah, he cannot weld. I would not let him weld or teach me at all. But no, it's something I've always wanted to learn how to do. I used to watch my dad do it as a kid, and I never tried it, of course, because, I didn't have the helmet for it, the visor. So, I couldn't watch. But it's something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to learn. And I know there's tons of people out there that could teach me. It's just all about taking the time and actually learning to do it. And I know that there's little classes at KOH that, like the Ladies Off-Road Network, she'll do little welding classes and stuff. But I'm always so busy that I'm not able to go over to them. But it would just be super cool to learn how to actually do that.
That's Charlene Bauer, right?
Yes.
Charlene gets that schedule. I didn't realize welding was a part of that, but that's very cool. Yeah. Charlene Bauer, and it is the Women's Off-Road Network, right? That is.
Yeah. I don't know where she does it at.
Well, I saw them multiple times during the week last time. She touring around with I don't know, what do you call that? What do you call a group of women?
An entourage.
An entourage?
I just call it an entourage whenever it's a group of people that are always together.
An entourage.
It's an entourage.
Like they say, like a murder of crow, a clouder of cats. Cats are
not a good way to put a group of women.
Yeah, like you can't say that. Like,
no,
Wyatt, you're fired. But so I saw Charlene would give her tour. Her large group. What she's doing is very cool. I think there's something for everybody in Hammertown. But learn how to weld. Somebody's got to learn. Maybe we need to get you. Maybe someone from Lincoln Electric will hear this and they'll be like, we need to put her in a Lincoln Electric race car, but we can't do it without teaching her how to weld. See, checking all the boxes. I'm thinking outside the box here.
I like it. And then they can send me to their school. They have a week-long school at their facility, I believe.
I think somebody needs to do that for you.
An Ultra4 sponsored person coming in. No, they would have to be a Lincoln sponsored person coming in from Ultra4, learning how to weld, and I can talk about it on the live show.
So, Pam, that's exactly how marketing works. I think that's exactly how it works, but I could be entirely wrong. But I think that's exactly it. You'll start to see your wardrobe for the live show change, right? As people
it has already.
It has. And I watched Miles, and we talked about Bailey, his wife, earlier, and Miles brought Bailey to this last race to nationals. Yeah. And that was pretty cool. And you said something to me about, I need to bring Christian to an Ultra4 race. So
yeah, but he won't.
Got to get that on his schedule. He's got to get out there.
No, he won't. He won't. Well, now that we're over on the East Coast, he's not going to travel with me.
So Hank really needs to start racing then, Ultra4.
He does. Yeah. He does. And then Christian can start working for Ultra4. So have a family affair.
So how close is that South Pittsburgh race? Is that going to be the closest race for you guys this next year?
Rush, Kentucky is the other one.
Rush, Kentucky. Are those about the same distance from you guys, or is Rush, Kentucky a little closer?
I don't know where Rush, Kentucky is at. I haven't mapped it. I usually map everything because I want to see, am I going to drive to that race or am I going to fly? But the one in Tennessee, I drove there this year. It only took me 5.5 hours to get there, which is nothing. Turn up my radio and sing like I'm Mariah Carey and drive along. So
see, I would have guessed that Rush is like 4 hours from you. So I'm probably pretty close to that, but
it's probably so. I don't know. I'm not very good on my East Coast states yet.
Well, Pam, thank you for coming on. Did we cover everything that you kind of wanted to get out there?
So.
You think so?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
I'm ecstatic about, having won such a cool conversationalist, someone who is your conversation that you flow with and you jive with and you have able to have a killer kick-ass dialogue. That's fun. I had a fun time.
Awesome. I had fun too.
I had a good time. I hope our listeners really enjoyed it too. I appreciate you guys dialing in and turning it on to your streaming audio and catching everything that is Pam Hall. And you guys can catch her on the live feed. King of the Hammers coming up in February. Yeah. Or if somebody is following the mill, we'll track you down on the tracker and see how you guys are doing racing the
Yes.
the Baja 1000 here in a few weeks. That's pretty exciting stuff.
It is very exciting. Julie Boyer, like I said, Julie Boyer is the driver of record, but the car number is 1662.
1662.
So that's the car number. Yeah, it's going to be a rough race, but so much fun.
We'll have to post that to the Talent Tank Insiders page on Facebook when the 1000's going on, and get everyone to make sure 1662 is one of them that they have selected to follow. Well, cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Pam, good luck at that. Be safe. Have fun. Thank you so much for coming on and agreeing to come on the Talent Tank and tell us who you are and what you do and kind of the genesis of how you became someone who was filling our airwaves on ULTRA4 race weekends. I'm very happy about it. I'm very grateful for it, for you doing that. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. So thank you for having me. It was exciting and fun. I was so nervous, but it's so much fun.
Yeah, you were nervous. Oh man. Well, all right, guys. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And on that note, we're out.
Thank you for listening and taking a dive into the Talent Tank. Please like and subscribe on Instagram @The Talent Tank or our website, thetalenttank.com.